on to the next session. Our keynote session, which was on technology trends and adoption in new normal times, Mr. M.A.K.P. Singh, the member of Hydro Central Electricity Authority, CEA, due to some unforeseen circumstances, he's running a bit late and would be joining us later in the day. So now we move on to the technical session with the topic uncovering work, for which we have amongst us Mr. Rahil Sarna, who's the technical sales engineer, ESET, on stage, please. Can we have a great round of applause, please? Mr. Rahil Sarnaji is a technical sales engineer providing clients with consulting services and a proof of concept for the deployment of security solutions to organizations across the SAARC region. As a highly certified security specialist, he's well versed in the intricacies of the cybersecurity, particularly the endpoint security, cloud-based management console, mobile device management, and gateway security. So on to you, sir. A great round of applause, please. I hope everybody is wide awake. It's like really, I am here. I was not even interested in all of it. I'm like, I can't have enough of this knowledge. So I'm sure you guys must be having so much of new information. On to you.
Right. Thank you for having me. Okay, so hello and good morning, everyone. I am Rahil Sarna. I'm a technical sales engineer in ESET for the SAARC region. I am representing ESET, which is a cybersecurity company based out of Bratislava in Slovakia. So today our topic is uncovering WARUC, and WARUC is an APT group that is discovered by our ESET research team. So our topics in this session will start with who is WARUC, who they are, what are their targeted regions, and the technical analysis of how their attack chain leads to hampering the organizations. And after that, we will see the benefits of ESET Inspect and how our enterprise solution empowers you to quickly and effectively check for the breaches, the risk assessment, investigation, and finally the remediation. And lastly, we will see why customers globally choose ESET. Okay. Okay, so starting with who is WARUC. WARUC is an advanced persistent threat group, and they basically use the undocumented tools, including steganography and extracting PowerShell payloads from PNG files. And according to the ESET researchers team, they have been active since late 2020, and they are still active as of now. According to the ESET elementary, this slide represents a visual heat map of the targeted regions and the verticals. Back in late 2020, WARUC has been seen targeting government agencies and as well as the companies. So we can see over this slide that a private company in the Southern Asia has been affected, a telecommunication company in Eastern Asia, a bank in Central Asia, and other than this, we can also see a telecommunication, a maritime industry in the Southeast Asia. So considering the targets profiles and the tools we have seen deployed against these victims, WARUC's main objective is to steal information from these organizations. So this here represents the technical analysis of how WARUC gets into the organization's network. And the majority of the initial access of WARUC are unknown. In some cases, through 2021 and 2022, we have seen exploits exploits used against the proxy shell vulnerabilities. So once WARUC gets access to the organization's network, the group deploy multiple and publicly available tools for reconnaissance. And this includes Mimikatz, NBT scans, and even the Earthworm. So if you see in the execution chain 1, The first stage here is a CLR assembly that is denoted by CLR load, and in the execution chain 2 it is replaced by power heartbeat, which is a full-featured PowerShell backdoor. So in both the cases it is followed by a second stage that is a .NET loader, and this is denoted by a PNG load. So CLR load, to give a brief to the audience, it is a generic Windows PE that have seen in both in the 32 and the 64-bit formats. It is a loader that is written in C++ that loads the next stage loader, that is the PNG load. And this must be a CLR DLL file. So the code is loaded from a file located on disk in a legitimate directory, presumably to mislead the victims or incident responders into thinking it is a legitimate software. So some CLR load samples start by decoding the full path of the file, whose content they will load as the next stage. And these file paths are encoded with a single byte XOR with a different key in every sample. So decoded or clear text, these file paths are absolute, with the following shown in the slide that we have encountered by the ESET research team. To give a brief about Power Heartbeat, it is a full-featured backdoor that is written in PowerShell. It obfuscated using various techniques such as compression, encoding, and even encryption. And based on the ESET telemetry, Power Heartbeat replaced CLR load in more recent Warhawk campaigns, and it used to launch the PNG load that we saw in the previous slide. Now the main layer of the backdoor code is written in PowerShell, and it uses HTTP and ICMP to connect with its CNC servers. Now PNG load is the second stage payload that is deployed by Warhawk on the compromised system, and according to the ESET telemetry, loaded either through CLR load or Power Heartbeat that we saw in the previous slide. PNG loader is a loader that uses bytes from PNG files to create a payload to execute. Now this is a 64-bit .NET executable obfuscated with a .NET reactor. This masquerades as a legitimate software. For example, the image shown in this slide over here from our VLIF security team. This shows that the CLR headers of sample masquerading as a WinRAR DLL. Now this is to hide the malicious payload. Warhawk uses bitmap objects in the C language, which only take pixel information from the files and not the file metadata. So this means that Warhawk is so advanced that it can hide the malicious payload in its valid and unconscious looking PNG images, and thus hide plain in the site. So we can conclude that the problem these days are the targeted attacks and the advanced persistent threats that try to get into the for example, Warhawk as of now that we are discussing, that try to avoid the detection by living off the land, meaning that they will not use malware to get into your organization's network. And as cybersecurity professionals, often we are asked that why do these APT group go unnoticed? So it is because these gangs, they take leverages of fileless or scripting techniques, and these are very popular right now with Windows PowerShell. Windows PowerShell is not a malware. It can be used as a malware it can be used maliciously, and sometimes what it is doing in memory, it can be detected as a malware. But PowerShell itself, it is not a malware. So other than this, APT is also making use of legitimate software. For example, the Windows instrumentation, Windows management instrumentation. And lastly, a lot of the initial compromises are due to the simple or the leaked passwords. And if you log in just like a user, that is not a malware. Now we have seen enough information about Warhawk, how it can easily grant the complete control of the organization system. And this is where the ESET solution come into the picture for better detection and remediation of these malwares. So we will dive a bit deep on what is gained or benefited by our enterprise solution. So in ESET, our EDR tool is called ESET Inspect. It is a tool for identification of anomalous behavior, breaches, risk assessment, incident response, and investigation and remediation. And our solution monitors everything that is happening on your network, be it the file events, network events, memory events, registry, and even the network events. And all of this monitoring and evaluation is done in real time so that the IT admins can take immediate action if at all it is required. The ESET Inspect, it works by tapping onto the ESET endpoint protection. So this allows us to take a lot of information about what is happening on the system. This means that we are able to see what applications are making the file changes, the registry changes or API connections, and it allows ESET Inspect to help pinpoint where actively detected threats by ESET endpoint protection came from. So if you are using ESET Inspect, you have greater visibility. You can see the chain of events as it is shown in this slide, and this tells us which is leading us to PowerShell being used, and then eventually it has caused the ESET endpoint protection to detect a threat. So immediately if you see the chain of events from the ESET Inspect, you can see the root cause, where we can see that the Outlook was opened, and then from Outlook there was an MS Excel attachment that was open. Next we can see that another tool that is built into Windows was used to execute a non-malicious DLL. Now this is additional visibility into any other components that were used maliciously. And finally, ESET Inspect empowers us to see that PowerShell attempted to use a fileless attack technique that is mentioned just near the DLL executed in memory. And it executes a DLL without ever letting the DLL file return to be on the disk. So this shows that ESET Inspect does what an EDR should do. It is providing you visibility. But what kind of control do you get from ESET Inspect for this scenario? So we can look at the techniques that are seen by ESET Inspect and decide if we want to apply an automated response on those behavior. So for instance, if we want to see the behavior that an Excel attachment is open and it runs the DLL32 to execute some files, we can make some rules in the ESET Inspect console to block this behavior, and this can stop from the attack to even initiate at the first stage. Next we can tell ESET Inspect that if it sees PowerShell attempting to execute a DLL in the memory, you can have ESET Inspect kill the running process and thus preventing a fileless attack from succeeding. This can allow you to have ESET Inspect automatically react if this technique is attempted in a different chain of events. So the nice thing about having increased visibility and the additional control is that it gives you the peace of mind in knowing you can identify the root cause of the threat that is detected by the ESET endpoint protection, and you can start prevent different techniques that are being misused on your network. So now we are at the part where we will see why the customers globally they choose ESET. So first of all, ESET is the #1 cybersecurity company in Europe. We have about 30 years of complete independence and innovation, and we are one of the very few global IT security company. So our headquarters is located in Bratislava in Slovakia, and other than that we have offices across the globe. We have more than 2,000 employees globally, and we have 13 R&D centers as well. So these are some of the customers that, these are the leading enterprises that entrust their IT security to ESET, and you can see quite a few have been mentioned over here. ESET also provides Google Chrome with the cleanup feature security. So we can proudly say that more than 1 billion plus users are protected by our technology, and this partnership with ESET and Google is since 2016. The same technology is also used in the Google Play Store. So all the malicious app or the apps that take information from the user, these security is also empowered by ESET to protect the Google Play Store users. And lastly, we will be seeing the industry recognition that ESET has globally. So ESET has our products, our enterprise products have got they've got awards from AV Test, AV Comparatives, and even the MRG FITAS. We have been recognized in Gartner's PS Insight Customer's Choice as well, and also we've got awards from SE Labs. We have stood as an overall leader in the Kuppinger-Cole Leadership Compass, and also we have stood as a top player in the Radicati Market Quadrant in the APT Protection Report. So even if we talk about the global cybersecurity leadership matrix by Canalys, we have stood as a champion just among major vendors. And also we have stood as a strategic leader in the endpoint prevention and response versus total cost of ownership. So now we are at the questions part, and please, if anyone has any questions related to the topic, you can ask. All right, thank you. Yes. 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 So to highlight on this, our solution ESET Inspect, it works on top of the endpoint solution. So once the product is there within the system, it is evaluating or it is recording each and every event, be it the network events, the file events, registry events, each and everything, and all the applications that are making those changes, it is recording each and everything. So we have more than 1,000 predefined rules within our consoles, within our enterprise solution, and when there is a detection based on those defined rules, on those behaviors that is in the console, then we get to see those detections. So this is where our solutions come into the picture, where we can get to see if anything malicious is happening or not. Now we know that opening email from opening email and then opening the Excel attachment, this is a very generic behavior. But this can have malicious payloads that can affect the user system. So this is where our solution come into the pictures, and it is giving a clear visibility to the IT security admins that if this behavior is genuine, then they can allow it to the user, and by default it is allowed. But if they see that this behavior is again and again seen to in the companies, in the organizational network, then they can block that process. They can block the users to open any Excel file that can download additional DLL files or any other payloads. And this is where ESET Inspect is helping our customers. Yes, please. Yes, so our EDR solution, it is available on the on-prem and on the cloud as well. And just recently this year, we are available on the cloud. And from our console, you can manage up to 5,000 devices from the EDR console. And if you talk about the endpoint protection, you can manage up to 100,000 devices also.
Thank you.
Yes. Yes, please. So, since we are a global brand, we are not focused specifically on Asia or Europe or any other country. Definitely, there are researches and news on specific country basis also. And apart from ESET, we have a global cybersecurity blog that is We Live Security. So the images we were seeing that has been brought up by from our team, We Live Security. And We Live Security, they put out all the information, basic proprietary research, security education, and this information is all free of cost, obviously, and this is to educate the general users, even the IT admins, the CISOs, so that they can get on the latest trends or what is happening in the real cyber crime world. Mm-hmm. Okay.
We found
Mm-hmm.
that various users, they are using mobile application, and yesterday itself, like Kaspersky also produced some sort of worms which is replicating through this platform. So I just need to know from your ESET perspective, like you also close monitoring with Google Play Store application as well,
Yes.
those exe files, or like when you mentioned the DLLs as well. The question is very simple, like any specific study, not now, maybe in future as well, are you providing, or maybe you can provide to share with us? That is the concern basically.
Yes, definitely. And since we work as APAC as a region, we can definitely work on key customers and get what are the latest trends or that they've faced, or the any detections that they face within our products. And definitely in the near future we can share this. But apart from this, since the hackers, the APT groups that we have discussed in this session, they do not care who the customers are. They will just search on the web and attack the victims. So we have to understand from the attacker's perspective on what are their tactics and how we can prevent from those hackers to get into our network. So rather than focusing on what customers or how they can prevent, basically if we talk about Indian customers or any Asian customers, we have to think about the basic cyber hygiene and how we can practice the better cyber security practices.
Excellent, thank you.
Thank you.
A great round of applause, please. I would now be requesting Mr. Selin Sen Gupta to please hand over a token of gratitude to our speaker, Mr. Rahil Sarna. Sir, can we please have you here? Can we have a great round of applause, please?